Okay, what is going on, my friend? Welcome to today's video. This one is particularly exciting for me to make. I know I say that in all of my videos, but what we're going to talk about in this video has made a dramatically profound impact on my life in a very short period of time. And what we're going to be diving into is very deep, and for some people, it'll be complex. And I don't want to overwhelm you with the deep spirituality aspect of what we're going to talk about. But this video is going to kind of introduce you into a way of thinking that's going to help you if you're someone who feels like you don't belong, or if you feel like you don't feel like you are being yourself. Maybe you are, feel like you're unworthy, or you're noticing that you have a tendency to people please, or just feel like you're not good enough, that you're lesser than others. Um, and this is a lot of what I've struggled with in the past. So that's really why I want to talk about it, because more recently, over my time, studying spirituality or self development, I've been able to come a long way in this area. And I want to give you my story. So, growing up, a lot of what contributed to me feeling different, or that I don't belong or feel lesser than others, was um, that I grew up in a different country and kind of bounced around as a kid because my family did missionary work. So their work was to help people in need and all around the world, basically. So I was that new kid in various schools, and never really felt like I had a one place that I was from. Whenever anyone would ask me, like, where are you from, it was always a longer story than just what most people say, which is like, oh, born and raised here. Like, it wasn't like that for me. And so over time, it started to instill like this feeling that I was different than others, or that um, I didn't fit in. And as I grew up, this stuck with me in different ways, and, whatever situations where I was embarrassed or didn't fit in or acted a certain way, that, I wasn't as good as the other kids in sports because they had done it like their whole lives. And different situations had caused this to amplify in me, to where I started to become seeking acceptance and validation externally, and feeling this sense of urgency that, like, I'm constantly on edge. How am I being perceived? Like, I needed to try to kind of fight to be accepted. In this is the way that I interpreted it, and put on a mask in a lot of situations, to where it started to get exhausting. That I started to be exhausted hanging out with people that I had to have this mask on and upkeep and maintain. Even if I wasn't so conscious about like being a certain way, I still subconsciously was constantly overanalyzing how I was being perceived, or like constantly checking and thinking about if I was like, accepted. And if you're watching this and you resonate with that, I want to share some good news. Is that there is a way to solve this, and I've like been interested in many different things, like, affirmations, or trying to be like self-disciplined, and like work on my like physique in the gym, or do these things to try and be accepted or be respected, or like try and intentionally seek acceptance in whatever form that was. And it just didn't work. It's not a road that, what I've learned, is a long term solution or a permanent solution. You end up just needing to, like, take like David Goggins, for example. Like, he constantly goes, and I don't know him personally, but um, constantly has to do this major workouts or extreme exercise just to feel a sense of worthiness or acceptance, and he has to do that every day to just feel worthy. Then that's just an example, and again, I'm just making an assumption. I don't know him personally, but that's an example of kind of painting the picture of, like, you see these people who work out at the gym and constantly, it's never enough. They want to get bigger, 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 bigger. Eventually, testosterone, steroids. And the same with career and finances. People who just purely pursue money, 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 and try and like seek the fulfillment of the void by buying things and getting a nicer car, a nicer house. It's the same kind of thing that is not the long-term or permanent solution. And a lot of people that go routes like that to the extreme end up doing those things out of this place of unworthiness or this place of not okay as they are. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with making money. That's great. And nothing wrong with going to the gym. That is awesome too. Still on the fence about testosterone. I don't know the full verdict there. But what I'm trying to get at here is those things are okay as long as you're being authentic in that you're doing it from a place of, I already accept myself as I am. I don't need to do anything externally to be okay. If you're seeking financial stability or health or even wanting to look more aesthetic, like if you're doing those things out of authentic alignment per se, if you're doing those things not trying to seek external validation from them, if you're doing it from a genuine, authentic place that you aren't running away from yourself and still want to do those things, then that's great. But let's kind of backtrack here. So that's kind of my story, and that's a little bit we went into like painting the picture of why most people feel like they don't belong and how they try and seek external validation from it. So that's kind of the problem, right? This is the problem that I'm trying to introduce you to in this video, and that you, if you're still watching, resonate to some degree. And one thing I want to touch on too before we get into like why this happens and how it happens is I don't think a lot of people realize how much energy is being spent by having to put up a mask or excuse me, having to like it takes a really big toll on you to constantly seek external validation or constantly analyze how you're being perceived and overthink. And social media doesn't help with this too. It makes us constantly like worry about our image in terms of others, and a lot of times it takes advantage of people who are insecure. But I don't think we realize, and when I started to do this work that I'm going to talk about, it's called like inner work, is I didn't realize how much energy I was repressing and how much that more energy and joy and literally presence and life that I could experience by working on these things. And I didn't realize how much energy was being taken away from me by not like paying attention to what I was doing. And, you know, not even to mention how much burnout and just exhaustion, like we're going to talk about it, but my tendencies to, you know, wake up super early, grind, discipline, overwork, overeat, like all of this stuff stemmed from this. And it was a way to mask these feelings of lack of worthiness or lack of feeling like I didn't belong, and ultimately not allowing me to be myself, which is a journey that I'm on right now. So anyways, why does this happen? And this is where the video is going to get a little bit complex. But those of you who resonate with this and want to understand the real intricacies involved with solving this issue and understanding it at a deeper level will resonate with this. So you have to understand how the self works. So us as human beings, a lot of us over time have thought that we are what's called just one like mono mind being, where we have one mind and one self, and that if you're acting a certain way, it means that like it's you who's acting that way. But in reality, and you know, very credible psychotherapists that I'm going to reference here and psychologists have developed this understanding that we are actually what's called parts. There are actually parts of us that we're not just one mono being. There's parts of us that have maybe been hurt as a kid or during our upbringing that causes us to feel a lack of worthiness, and then puts them in a place where they want to take on this extreme role to seek validation and acceptance and protect themselves and us from, and it sounds wild, but it protect us from feeling that again. And then there's other parts that have had different situations where maybe they feel a certain fear towards something, and then they cause you to overeat to fill the to mask and kind of numb the fear that you feel when it arises. And then there's parts of you who just want to relax and chill, and then other parts of them who want to like protect us from stagnancy or feeling like we are procrastinating, try and like fight with that part. And this is why this will ring true with you, this understanding, if you've ever felt like part of you wants to, and we even speak like this, part of me wants to just chill and rest, but I know that there's another part of me that wants to go work, and that if I don't work, I'm going to feel like shit. So we already have an innate understanding of this way of thinking, but no one's ever articulated it to me until I've started studying these topics, and you probably haven't been introduced to this yet either. But the reality is that there's parts of us that want different things, or are protecting us from different things that cause us to take on extreme roles in different areas and fight with ourselves. And instead of just being present, authentic, at peace, and being led by our intuition, it kind of masks our intuition, which ultimately, if we can get in touch with it, is the key to feeling like yourself and being yourself, and going about your day being guided by your intuition, knowing what you need to do in each moment without feeling guilt or feeling this fear or sadness for doing these things, and not doing anything out of lack of worthiness or wanting external validation. So, as a little bit complex as that sounds, it's a really powerful understanding that if you can come to. Richard Schwartz calls this the IFS model, the internal family systems model. And this way of thinking has helped countless people who have struggled with stuff like this, with inauthenticity, feeling unworthy, and other issues. And having this understanding and working with these parts to help them calm down has helped people dramatically that have suffered with all kinds of things, from overeating to mental health issues. And obviously I'm not a licensed professional. So I just want to put that out there in case YouTube like flags my stuff, but you don't need to be a licensed professional to understand these concepts and have them help you. Okay. So now that we have that understanding, and yes, it is a vague understanding, and I want to leave a PDF that introduces this, because if you're someone who ultimately wants to be more authentic, wants to stop feeling like they don't belong, stop feeling lack of worthiness or feeling lesser than others, this is really going to help you, this understanding. So I'm linking a PDF introducing you to this model of thinking and help you ultimately understand yourself better, and how your biology and how us as beings work, and how the self works. So I'm going to leave that in the description for you to check out. And I'm going to make further videos on this too, because this has been one of the main things that has made such a profound improvement on my life. I wouldn't say improvement, but a profound effect positively on my life. And it's been a journey, but seeking things like pure finances and pure like status and stuff like this, I've been able to experience it so far in my life, and nothing has felt more satisfying and more prolonged and permanent than this type of work. And the funny thing about this is, if you get into this type of work where you're inner work, you're going to start experiencing your external world change around you kind of effortlessly in ways that you don't understand. You're going to get introduced to the right people. You're going to align to the right people, the right opportunities. You're going to get clarity on what path to start walking or what direction to move down. And it's a better way to, I think, a lot of us are kind of lost today trying to figure out what to do, what business to start. It's a better way to start. I think it's a foundational piece to help young people, like lost young people like me, I was not too long ago. I think this type of inner work is foundational to doing anything, pursuing a career, pursuing a business, just pursuing a lifestyle in general that you want to create for yourself. I think this type of work helps all of that fall into place and helps it become clear so you know where to move. And so I wish I had learned about this stuff sooner when I was trying to figure out what business to start, what to do, what career path to take after I was pretty lost when I graduated school. So everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad where I am now, but just wanted to share that. And so the final few minutes of this video, we're going to talk about how to break out of this, how to feel like yourself, how to start this journey and embark on this journey of becoming and returning to your ultimate self. And part of me, my old me, would call this stuff cringe, this inner work stuff cringe. And if you're watching this and having thoughts like that, I get it, because even now it's a process for me understanding that an older version of me would have called this stuff cringe, but how profound of an impact this stuff has made on my life, I feel like I can't not come on here and just share it with people. So it's worth the it's worth like getting on here and just sharing this stuff, even if people call me cringe. I honestly don't care at this point. I know that this feels aligned, and me being able to listen to my intuition allows me to do this. So anyways, the first step is just committing to this journey of understanding inner work and understanding parts, and just committing to going kind of a reverse way of what society goes, by going in instead of out and seeking fulfillment outside. You go inside and you start getting curious and what's going on? Why am I feeling unworthy? Why do I feel lesser than others? Is this really like the rational way to think about it? And it's not just thinking about this stuff, but it's actually getting in touch with these parts and communicating with them. And how these parts communicate with you is, for example, when you are laying in bed and part of you wants to stay in bed and rest and part of you tells you to get out of bed and go work, you have an opportunity to communicate just by it communicates via thought. So these parts will say these things to you, and that's where your thoughts are generated from. It's complicated, but you have an opportunity there to get curious and go, like, what's causing this part of me to feel this way? You can ask it directly, like, hey, what is causing this? Like, where's this coming from? And you embark on this path of going inwards and starting to learn about yourself, and ultimately going down that path. And I'm going to have more videos on it too, and I recommend you read the PDF, but understanding and getting curious and seeking to understand yourself deeper and feeling the emotions that you're running away from via all these, what you can call coping mechanisms, is the process to releasing this repressed energy and allowing the air to clear and these parts to go out of their extreme roles, to where you release the fear that is attached to what's causing a part of you to want to go work out in the gym excessively until you get a certain amount of size. Feeling what fear and emotion is, maybe it's not fear, maybe it's something else, but feeling and releasing the emotions by feeling them and understanding them will allow that part to calm down. And then all of a sudden you aren't feeling guilty when you don't do that, and you're able to maybe have a better relationship with the gym and go to be intuitively healthy and feel better, instead of making parts of you feel like shit and exhausted by going to the gym, right? So it's going to make sense, but again, just wanted to introduce you to these subjects because it's had such a profound effect on my life learning about these things. And I'm going to talk in more videos about parts and inner work and ultimately having more energy and being your authentic self. There's a statistic in this book that I honestly haven't read, but that I've heard this statistic. It's like the number one regret of the dying. I think the book is like top 10 regrets of the dying or something. of people who are on their deathbed and regret stuff, the number one regret is that people wish they were more like themselves, that they were more authentic and lived life as they authentically wanted. And so that's pretty that is pretty profound if you think about it. If the number one thing people are thinking about at the end of life, this life at least, is that they wish they just were themselves. Um, that really rises to the surface how important this stuff can be. And so that's why you can see in my channel there's been a shift in talking about more of these subjects, because I'm starting to see that there's not much more important than this. And that a lot of what I was trying to solve with other things um, can really be solved by this. And this is ultimately the way to get clear on what you want to go, what direction you want to go in life, and how to listen to your intuition to guide you. And that's different for everybody in where it's going to take you. But ultimately, you want to make the most out of life. You don't want to waste time. And I don't see any other way to not waste time than being your authentic self, if that makes sense. I don't see any other way, any other better way than being yourself to avoid wasting time. And this is the way to make the most out of life, because you are you actually, and living life as you. So anyways, quick introduction to this stuff in this video. That said, if you do need some guidance and you want my help to kind of help introduce you deeper into these subjects a bit and kind of help you get clear on your situation, if you're stuck and you just want some guidance and you resonate with what I talk about on my channel at all, click the second link, I think, in the description, where it has a link where you can book a call with me directly, if that's something that you resonate with and you feel like could help you. Otherwise, I hope to see you in another video, and thanks for watching this far. And yeah, that's all for today. Hope you have a great rest of your night / day, whatever it is. And I'll see you in another one. Bye.